as always, Miss Di Marie. Di, what's going on?
Hello, happy to be back.
And we have another variant here, Miss Jenna Say What. Jenna, how's it going?
Good. Hope you are doing well.
So recently, Jenna did an interview with Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks on a show called Who's That Cosplayer? And she did an amazing job. And if you guys are fans of Jenna, like we all are, go to his channel, help him out, and check out her interviews. Really,
yes,
it's eye-opening for sure. Especially when it comes to DC. DC.
Yes.
We're looking at you.
I know.
All right. So thank you guys for your continued love and support. We spent a couple weeks honoring and lovingly putting Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, to rest. You can check those out right now. We did the MCU Legacy of Black Widow, which is available now, and of course the Black Widow review, which, for the most part, we all give a thumbs up. We all enjoyed it.
Yes.
This time we're focusing on the Sacred Timeline and the full season, which it is a season because it was announced that there's going to be a second, of Loki. But before that, we're going to get to Top Jedi, which is the news of the week. Diana, what's going on in Top Jedi this week?
So Mandalorian fans have something to look forward to. Disney Plus will be releasing an episode on August 25th for Disney Galleries. Mm-hmm. It's going to be focusing on the rescue episode, which we all know is when Grogu left with Luke Skywalker. So they'll be focusing on the technology to bring Mark Hamill back onto the screen. And focusing on what it was like to work with Mark Hamill and honoring his character. So, I'm really excited. I'm hoping that we see more Grogu, and hopefully they give us a little teaser about what's to come next with their characters.
Also in Top Jedi news, just like The Mandalorian, who was, just scoring, like with tons of Emmy nominations. WandaVision, my favorite MCU series, has 24 Emmy nominations and 7 for Falcon and the Winter Soldier, very respectively. But I'm just so happy for just the sheer fact that, we had talked about it in the Wanda and Vision retrospective, that I was a fan of Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany stepping in, in all the way back in Age of Ultron. And even just to see Catherine Hahn, who is lovingly called the Meryl Streep of comedy, there was a time where she was very underrated as well. So to see these three, in the umbrella of being seen for their acting abilities is incredible. And also, respectively, even though it wasn't for WandaVision, it was for Mare of Easttown. But for a little side note, for another actor that was on WandaVision, Evan Peters finally got some recognition by the Emmys after years of embodying like every single character that he had in, American Horror Story. And doing, something as memorable as he did it in WandaVision.
It was incredible.
He definitely deserves it. It's a long time coming for sure. But yeah, WandaVision, this is historic for not even Marvel, but just, it's great to see that we live in a time now where, these stories, these fantastical, like very epic, kind of strange and weird stories that, do play with emotion, play with, some sort of humanity, are being seen as like proper storytelling, proper television. We've definitely reached, as Jonathan Major said, a threshold when it comes to, the way people look at entertainment now. Like comic book movies are just important, not only just to the social wallpaper, but now they're being seen as reputable. And I love it. I absolutely love it. Some sad news, possibly. I don't like hearing this, but Jenna, Miss Harleen Quinzel herself, what is next in Top Jedi?
So Margot Robbie has spoken about the future of Harley Quinn and her playing Harley Quinn. And she says that she needs a break after Harley, after Suicide Squad. She said that we don't know when we're going to see her next. I know that it's been kind of a, I feel like it's been a little bit coming just because she wanted to do Gotham City Sirens
Yeah.
for so long, and I feel like it's been in just in script writing, just it's in such a baby stage, and it has been for so long.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's, I mean, honestly, I would feel burnt out too, having that carrot in front of me and be chasing for that, and constantly getting pushed back and stuff. However, on a side note, if DC, if you would like to hire me, I will work for almost nothing. I know that you're watching me because you took my artwork for my costumes. So pay me, hire me,
Wow.
hire me.
I'm just gonna say this. If this happens to be Margot's last hurrah, I would understand, because she did say in the interview that it was also just the physicality of the character. She's banged up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Working on something like the Suicide Squad, like, really did some physical damage to her body. And I think she even said that she's so ingrained into Harley. She said she'd be hanging out with friends, like on the beach or something, and then go, ow, like do the voice.
Yeah.
She can't break free from it.
Oh, I can't either. I feel that too, girl. However, again, DC, you gotta get your girl on board because she can do it. And I can talk like her and I can act like her. But Mr. J, he can go,
Richard E. Grant just did an interview where he said that he would definitely be interested in a sub-series focusing on classic Loki and Alligator Loki, which would make me so happy because I loved Alligator Loki the moment he was on the screen. But according to his interviews, he said that he wouldn't say no and anything's possible. And like he said in the episode, Loki survived. That's what we do. So hopefully they find a way to bring him back into the multiverse. Maybe he'll make an appearance in the series. Who knows?
Oh,
but yes, but a fun fact, if you guys aren't aware, when he was first in talks about playing classic Loki, he was promised kind of like a muscle suit. And then when he went to wardrobe, he just kind of got what he called like a Kermit looking costume. So he was kind of bummed about that. So he's hoping that if he ever does come back, he would actually get the costume he was hoping for at first. So, and another thing, if you guys didn't notice, classic Loki is the only one that can understand Alligator Loki. So that, I think that would be an adorable way to do the show.
Yeah. On a side note, the guy's absolutely hilarious. And he had mentioned, because I remember growing up and this movie with Bruce Willis, it was supposed to be this huge thing. And they actually had a Nintendo game based on it and stuff. And it was called Hudson Hawk. And it flopped hard. And when Richard E. Grant was talking in an interview, he's like, of course I understand Loki. I am a survivor. I was in Hudson Hawk. My career should be over. Jenna, we had, there's a little bit of a divisive opinion when it comes to this. A lot of people are saying that it is the official inclusion of Deadpool into the MCU. And some people are just saying it was just a promotion for this movie Free Guy. But what is next to Top Jedi?
So Deadpool and Korg become YouTube reactors to promote this new movie, Ryan Reynolds' new movie, Free Guy. I think that it is the confirmation. I feel like they didn't want to go over the top with it. I figured that they would want to like go kind of under the radar. Whoever knew that I would want like a TV show, like even just a mini series of Korg and Deadpool just interacting together, because it was hilarious from start to finish. Like, Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool gives it 4 out of 5 avocados. And then Korg just goes, I was raised by avocados. He's like, oh, kill me. Like, he's just like, oh God, like you can just tell like how frustrated Deadpool is because Korg is just, he's Korg. So, but I think it's the confirmation, honestly. I feel like they wouldn't want to make a big spectacle of it.
I think it might be as well. I mean, look, you got to look at it in terms of the commercial. Making Korg like, out of CG, made out of
Yes.
rocks. Don't be, like whatever. But yeah, that took some money to do. So,
Yeah.
it's definitely something. It's
Exactly.
definitely something. So of course, last time we talked about Black Widow 2021, and we are still in Marvel territory when it comes to Loki. And we decided that we wanted to wait to talk about the full season, as I think we actually we did a review for one of the episodes, and then we decided
Mhm.
that we wanted to wait until the story unravels to where it is now. And
Yep.
believe me, unravel it did. I do want to say one thing when it comes to the show. I'm absolutely happy for its success. And I am so over the moon that people absolutely love it. I am absolutely in that fold for sure. But unlike you guys, I was not deeply in love with his character. I love Tom Hiddleston as an actor. Crimson Peak is absolutely one of my favorite films of all time. But I was not sold on Loki as one of my favorites. You know what I mean?
Oh, he was my favorite.
Right.
And that's where that's kind of where we disagree. But I will say this now, as we're talking about the series as a whole right now as we speak. I absolutely love Loki as a character because of this show. And that is something that Disney Plus, these particular shows, like I didn't have to be sold on Wanda and Vision. I already love them. I was kind of iffy on Sam and Bucky, like, they're cool, you know what I mean? But I felt like more connected to them because of their series, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Captain America and the Winter Soldier. And the same thing with this show. Like this is, I don't want to say Tom Hiddleston's best performance, because when he did the original Thor with Kenneth Branagh, he was really giving like a theatrical Shakespearean performance. And he's also doing the
Yes.
same thing here. This is not, this is not people phoning this in, especially when it comes to Tom Hiddleston and Sophia Di Martino. This is a Shakespearean tragedy wrapped up in all of this like wacky, cosmic, kind of wild Rick and Morty nonsense.
Yep.
But in the center of that is some of the finest acting I've seen.
Yep.
From those two in particular, for sure. Not to say
Well,
that the cast is fabulous, but they're really like, it's like they're on a stage. You know what I mean? Like they are. They are obviously like, very highly trained, when it comes to all the acting school that they've done through the years and all this stuff, and it shows on on the screen. They're giving absolutely top-notch, award-winning masterclass performances. And I love the character, and I love his journey, his emotional journey. I love where he is now, where he's like really getting to find himself and realize that he's a narcissist, and realize that he wants to change, and has love in his heart, I think maybe for the first time, and got like completely heartbroken due to that trust felt in somebody.
Also, Rob, I have to say congratulations and welcome to the Loki side, the Loki fandom side. We have we have some blue drinks that are for the Tesseract, and we also have cookies that are shaped like the Infinity Gauntlets. Just grab whatever you like, sir. So yay, welcome to the side. Yay.
No, yeah, so this show is fantastic. And I have so much praise to lay upon it, but actually, Diana, like as a full story, beside, before we get into like, the characters within and stuff, like how are you feeling about this particular moment in Loki's emotional journey? This particular Marvel, like epic as a whole. What do you think?
Loved it because we're seeing so many different sides of Loki that we haven't seen before. I don't even know where to start with this show, to be honest, but
we're going to try very hard to break it down. There's quite a lot.
There's so much, like I don't even know where to start, but it's just like when we see him, he's kind of like a angry douchebag, and then you kind of see him softening up a little bit, and we see a little bit more of his vulnerable side, and then we see him fall in love with himself, which showed a completely different side. I don't even know. I don't know. There's just so much to unpack here, but I'm just so excited to see more of Loki. I hope that Tom Hiddleston plays him forever, and we just keep seeing more sides of Loki branching out.
It's fantastic to see his arc, and how smooth it played in 6 episodes. You know what I mean? It didn't feel forced. Like, it all made sense, because it was a gradual understanding. Like, yes, I did love my family, and yes, I am a narcissist, and that's why I do things, because I feel like I need to do them. You know what I mean? Because, if I don't, then, he always felt like he always had to have his guard up, his shield up, and that's why he constantly did that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And it's beautiful. It's so beautifully written. Anyway, I want to get into the characters, when it comes to the TVA, mainly Mobius, played by Owen Wilson. What a fantastic inclusion into the MCU, because his humor and his dryness just work so well.
Yes.
You know what I
mean? He
was
perfect for this role.
Di, what do you think of Mobius, Owen Wilson's inclusion into the MCU?
First of all, I just want to say, in the 2nd season, we better see Mobius with his jet ski. I've been wanting that since he mentioned
Alligator
it.
Loki.
Oh my God, that would be perfect. But I knew that was going to play into something, and they need to give that to us because I want to see that so bad. But
Same.
I don't even know. He's just such a cool guy. Like, I hope that we see a lot more of him in the 2nd season, because he's so cool, calm, and collected, and like, he's been around for eons of time apparently. So he's probably seen a lot of stuff, and there's a lot more to unpack with that character. I feel like we've just barely scratched the surface, but
well, yeah, their dynamic works. It's very Lethal Weapon, like where Loki's more the wild card as opposed to to Mobius, and that connection works so well. I want to give a huge shout out because she's one of my absolute favorite voice actors. And speaking of Harley Quinn, Tara Strong is Miss Minutes. I mean, it's amazing to me how somebody that skilled, in their abilities when it comes to like, bringing their voice to the table, can make that little animated clock so compelling and kind of sinister.
I love Miss Minutes.
Oh my God. I've actually seen, I saw a girl on TikTok, Charlie Quinn Starling. She actually cosplayed Miss Minutes and does like videos like that. And it's just a big, huge clock that she wears, and it's very pinup style. It's adorable, but
that's
like
so cute.
I saw that and I was like, oh my God, this makes me love this character even more, just because like someone did that and went out of their way to do that. And I don't know why, but it made me fangirl even more for that character. Like, as weird as that sounds. When
she was speaking to Loki and she's just like, that gave me chills, this little cartoon clock. And she's just going, like, how would you like to win when it comes to those pesky Avengers? The Infinity Gauntlet, it's yours.
That.
Two Lokis in the same timeline. He can make it happen. And it's just like, like this clock should not make me feel this way.
Right.
Like, she terrified me. Like, during that, I was just like, oh no.
What happened?
Oh no.
Fantastic performance from Tara Strong, as always. But let's get into Sylvie, because there's quite a lot to talk about. Diana, what are your thoughts on Sylvie entering the MCU? I will say this. I absolutely loved Sophia DiMartino from the very beginning. From the first time where she said, "This is not about you." And I just knew this character was just going to be instantly iconic, just like that. And she just put, like we were talking, like I was talking about, like, these Shakespearean performances, like she is bringing it, like not even just
Man.
like, I mean, like acting that's like above and beyond, most performances that you see. She's really bringing some theatrical stuff to the table.
Mhm.
She's wonderful. But I mean, what were your thoughts when when Sylvie came on the scene, and how do you feel about her now? Like going into the story and.
So, when we did our first review on Loki, you and I had a conversation about the church that Mobius was in. And there was stained glass there where it looked like Joan of Arc. And we had a conversation where we were talking about how I was thinking that maybe her character would kind of correlate with Joan of Arc as far as like her sacrifice and things like that.
Mhm.
So I thought it was cool that that actually did play out.
Yeah.
She is a very tragic character. So I think that she did kind of make Loki realize that the things that upset him weren't, it didn't really, what's the word I'm thinking of? It didn't really matter, I
Mhm.
guess. Like she was on the run her whole life.
Yeah.
And just seeing her in the last scene where, she finally has somebody that actually loves her and cares about her and pushes him away, like, yeah.
I think a lot, I think a lot of this, particular story when it comes to Marvel, even though, it's got your wacky elements and all that stuff, like I think a lot of it has to do with faith to a certain degree. She has her own faith and her own feelings when it comes to what she wants and what she wants to accomplish. The TVA, are basically like QAnon. Like they just believe whatever, you know what I mean? Or Christianity or
Yeah.
Catholicism, they believe whatever they believe. But, a lot of it, not to say, anybody out there, like if you are faith-based, we're not saying you're ridiculous for that. Everybody should have a belief in something, but their belief system isn't necessarily doing them any good because it's all a lie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I think that Joan of Arc parallel that you posited before, I think that's absolutely,
Mm.
because she's technically like, the martyr for her own beliefs, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like what
Yeah.
I respect about her the most though is she does have a mission. She's not going to let anything get in her way. But at the same time, I think that that's going to ultimately be her downfall because she can't see anything else besides what's
Well,
in her.
yeah, it already was. I mean, like
Mhm.
instead of, believing her heart, which is something she wasn't able to do,
Yeah.
She pushed away the only thing that really actually cared about her ever in her life. And, through her, like her decision to try to save, like whatever you want to call it, like, like the universe or whatever, she unmade it because of that
Yep.
decision that she couldn't
Wrecked
make.
everything.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, of course, the woman did something, to make things wrong or whatever, you know what I mean? But I don't think it was that at
Yeah.
all.
No.
But yeah, Jenna, what do you think about Sylvie as a character?
I didn't trust her from the beginning.
As you
So
shouldn't.
I actually didn't really like, because of that distrust. I still kind of think that she is Enchantress and that this is like a whole ruse.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I'm still hanging on to that belief. So I really don't trust her at all.
Well, I'll tell you what it is, like you're not supposed to trust her. And I think that that is pretty much like one of the main powers of these Lokis is their charm. And,
Mhm.
once they have you wrapped around your finger, just like any bad relationship, any narcissist that we know and, in our life, like they got you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, just like myself who have fallen for Sylvie probably aren't doing the right thing because she shouldn't be trusted at all. Before we get into the main, we'll call big bad, I guess. I mentioned before, when it comes to Lovecraft Country, HBO Max must be, you know, they must be on antidepressants at this point.
Mhm.
Because first of all, they cancel Lovecraft Country, and then Misha Green gets a multi-million-dollar deal, and then it's nominated for 18 Emmy nominations, including acting,
Mhm.
including my man who played Atticus in Lovecraft Country, Jonathan Majors, who, this guy comes on to this show. And what's really interesting is that for I think it was like a year and a half, something like that. It was announced that he
Mhm.
was going to be in Quantumania, Ant-Man Quantumania, that he was playing Kang the Conqueror, and he just denied it left and right. No, 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 this isn't true. This isn't true. I think recently he did a comic book signing. I think he just randomly walked into a comic book shop and he was signing Kang on people's comic books. He said that's the first time I ever got to sign this character's name. So it means
Yeah.
something. It's very special to me. So I'm thinking to myself, there is no way, and I think I mentioned it to you guys before, there's no way they're going to introduce Kang into Loki. No way. Doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like, it would make sense it was a evil version of Loki or whatever, but I was blown away. And like, I couldn't have been more wrong because that elevator door opens and my jaw like dropped to the floor like a cartoon character.
Yep.
Unbelievable that they
There
did
was
that.
no way that we could have predicted any of this to happen, and I feel
No.
like this is what's going to happen with the rest of the Marvel phase 4, and I'm so excited to see what they're going to do with
Yep.
it.
Yeah, but the thing I
Agree.
loved about it is that like, from the moment you saw him, Jonathan Majors, he's like, you were going to get into your apple theory, but he's munching on an apple, he's picking his nose and he's wiping it on his robes and stuff. He's just like this
Yep.
dirty, eccentric old man, kind of like in this
Yep.
handsome guy's body. You know what I mean? But he was just
Yep.
like, he just kind of, like, he's very, 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 like, brutally honest, and also, kind of a trickster himself. You don't necessarily know if anything he's saying is the truth. It's just such a brilliant performance because that guy was just having fun from the time he walked out of that door.
Yep.
But I couldn't believe it. I could not believe they did it, and they did. But Jenna, what did you think when Jonathan Majors came into the show?
Oh, let me stroke my invisible beard for this one because I have a doozy. So it's funny that Di mentioned Joan of Arc and the religious connotations of that. And I thought it was interesting that Kang is sitting there eating an apple symbolizing knowledge from, the forbidden tree. He is the omnipotent God of their world, of the TVA. And here he is eating this apple. And I thought that was a good like nod to that, like that tree of knowledge in the Christian faith. And I thought that it was a beautiful symbolism with like the fact that there's like two gods, of like a pantheon that has multiple gods. And here he is, this one
But he also, right, but to
Yeah.
piggyback off of you, he also offered these two what he felt was paradise.
Yeah. Oh, and it's a male and a female.
Temptation was there.
Ooh, a lot to unpack here.
Temptation, I paved the road. You followed it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh man.
He was willing to give them.
Deep.
He was willing to give them a life together if they could.
Yes.
If he could just continue to keep the timeline straight.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, he is. I think he'd also mentioned that like, to a certain degree, he is a god, and also like, he calls himself a devil. You know what I mean? Like, you think I'm bad? Wait until you see the other versions of me.
Yes.
So I think you're like, definitely right. Yeah. Did he mention dogma as well? Like, let's break away from the dogma.
Yes.
Because at this point, I don't know what's going to happen. Like 10, 9, 8 minutes ago, 8 seconds ago, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know, Diana, what did you think of Jonathan Majors coming on the scene? Did you feel like, I think there's two trains of thought here. I think there's a couple people that feel like maybe it's too soon. And then there's other that, that just think it's perfect because they never mentioned his name. They never mentioned he was Kang. They never mentioned he was anybody except for He Who Remains.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But what did you think of his entry?
So I'm not very knowledgeable about Kang's character, but just knowing
Oh, he laid it out, baby. That was all exposition. That scene.
I'm not familiar to the extent of how villainous he is, but just seeing his introduction as like a cool, calm, relaxed guy, I'm really interested to see how they're going to play him as more of an evil character. Because Sylvie just released Hell into the Universe, basically. So I think that it's going to be insane. And the actor that plays Kang is phenomenal. So just his presence as soon as he entered the screen, like he owned it. So I'm just really excited to see where they're going to take him.
Well, when it comes to Kang, I think his whole like train of thought or what he knew would be that, even if you guys decide to do something really dumb and take me out, like all this, multiversal war is going to happen again, and I'll be right back in this seat anyway.
Yeah.
So, like even his, like reincarnation, it was all kind of cyclical. You know what I mean? But I think, when it comes to, like Kang, I don't think he was supposed to be Kang. Kang is like one of the other variants of him that is supposed to be the worst, possible version that you can think of.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was just like one of many of, Jonathan Majors' character, you know what I mean? But the other versions of him or the other variants of him are much worse and have nothing but hatred and evil and whatever in their hearts.
Okay,
where
that makes sense.
He kind of had some redemption, and even though he was doing something horrible by pruning the timeline and putting people in the void, where they obviously have to face Goliath at some point, he felt like he was doing the right thing. You know what I mean? Because it was like, like you were saying with your Star Trek reference, you know what I mean? Like, like when it comes to
the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
Exactly. And I think that's what Jonathan Majors was trying to say. Like, you have to break a few eggs sometimes to, do things in the grander scheme. But at the same time, like you two aren't going to sit there and tell me that I'm wrong when you're murderers, straight up murderers. You've done worse things yourself. You know what I mean? Like we're all sitting here at this, this conference table, and nobody's innocent. And you know what I mean?
Yep.
It was all so brilliantly executed. Just the whole idea, and everything that he wanted to give them. Where he's just like, you know what? Like you two run it. I'm tired. Like I don't want to do this anymore.
He didn't fight. He was just like, all right.
Yeah. And the thing was great, like, even when their fight went down, like, he's just sitting there at the desk the whole time, just watching it like it's a soap opera. Like, it's just like, oh yeah, here we go. Yep. But yeah, so let's talk about, Loki's intent, when it came to, obviously he heard he who remains loud and clear. This guy is telling the truth, and it takes, a person that, was trying to garner and grab as much power as I was to understand how much power this guy has. So what did you guys think of that actual, like altercation with Sylvie and Loki? It broke my heart. And I kind of, not to say that I have a distaste for Sophia DiMartino or that character, but I'm a little angry at her right now.
She's not on the good list.
No, I didn't trust her from the get-go. So
I know you didn't care.
I knew it. I saw it. I was like, I knew not to trust her. I felt like a mom telling my teenage son, like, I told you she was bad news. Did you listen to me? No, you didn't. Like, that's how I kind of feel right now. Is like being like, okay, I knew it. Like I would scream at the TV. I'm like, no, don't do it. She's so terrible. She's up to something. Like, so yeah, I would.
Because even when they shared the kiss she was only doing that to distract Loki. Like, I don't even think that that was genuine for her, but maybe it was because
No.
she had that look of regret on her face for a second. Like, it's so hard to read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also very realistic because, you know, to get realistic for a second, I mean, there was a time, you know, like earlier on in my life where, you know, like I was just, you know, taking this like, you know, really shitty path or whatever. And like, you know, I would be jilted, you know, by people, or I would, you know, like jilt people simply because I felt like that was the defense net mechanism that I needed to, you know, have, you know, happen for me to feel like, you know, like we were talking about a shield earlier. And it's all very real. I mean, you know, like Loki, you know, even at his, you know, like kindest core right now, and all the understanding that he's starting to understand about himself, like he's still a narcissist, and Sylvie is still a narcissist. So,
Yeah.
you know, this relationship is just absolute oil and water anyway.
It is.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's what I love about it, is that, you know, even that kiss, you know, between them is absolute and utter just deception
Yeah.
on her part. I'm not you. Bye. Like, I'm doing what I'm
Yeah.
doing.
I hated her in that second. I was like, how dare you?
Yeah.
But it couldn't play out any other way but that.
No.
Yeah. You know, and I love that, you know, how the music like kind of sweeps in, and, you know, like a romance or whatever, but at the same time, it's like, oh man, you know where this is going. This woman
Yep.
is about to break this guy's heart. I will say this though. You know, I think the director Kate Herron did a fantastic job. You know, Michael Waldron, who was a writer for Rick and Morty, it had very Rick and Morty elements to it, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
it did. I didn't even know that, but yeah, I was picking up on that too. Yeah.
Most definitely. And, you know, like, and there are times where even Rick and Morty has their moments where they have like a really serious, you know, like conversation when it comes to like, you know, their narrative. You know what I mean? It's not complete and utter nonsense. Like, where do you guys think this takes the MCU? You know, do you think this is the moment that changes everything when it comes to, you know, where we're at in terms of phase 4, you know, with you know, Shang-Chi and the Eternals and all that stuff? Do you think this all connects now?
I think so. I think that it's going to be an expect the unexpected from this point forward. Everything is chaos. So I feel like I don't even want to speculate, because I'm just gonna.
You can't predict
have
what's
my
gonna
seatbelt
happen.
on. Yeah, I have my seatbelt on. I am ready to go. Like I'm ready. I'm in the car. Let's go. Let's start this puppy up.
So that's our show, guys. If you guys haven't checked out Loki or WandaVision or Falcon and the Winter Soldier, highly recommend you get Disney Plus. You know, we're not getting any of that sweet, you know, mouse money. But yeah,
And I
man,
sure as
definitely.
heck am not getting that sweet DC money.
Yeah, make her Harley Quinn. Speaking of Harley Quinn, next week we're going to get into some James Gunn DC territory, and we're going to celebrate one Harley Quinn. We're going to talk about the history of Harley Quinn, why we love her, and all of that before our review of the Suicide Squad. So we are saying goodbye to Marvel for a while. So thank you again for your love and support. Please like and subscribe. It helps us get out to more people. And we'll see you next week. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.